The term Renaissance man is far too widely used and sometimes feels like hyperbole. When one speaks of the late John Hadley, the definition barely scrapes his surface. John was an actor, a painter, a poet, a comedian, a musician, a songwriter, a writer, and an academic. Most people likely would have heard or seen some of his work or creations. His influence was everywhere, even if it wasn't at the bottom of the credits screen.
Hey there, music lovers! If you're into the best country vibes and all things music, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell.
In fact, John Hadley published over 1,000 songs in his career and even owned his own publishing company, Hadley Six Music. That also adds entrepreneur and publisher to his long list of talents. Many of John's songs were recorded by some legendary artists, which included George Jones, Roger Miller, Waylon Jennings, Jerry Reed, Garth Brooks, the Dixie Chicks, Wynonna Judd, Linda Ronstadt, Trisha Yearwood, Bobby Bare, Mo Bandy, T. Graham Brown, Joe Cocker, George Burns, Burt Reynolds, and Dean Martin. John had the opportunity to work with many famous writers like Kevin Welch, David Olney, Tim O'Brien, Terry Hendricks, and Gary Nicholson. He co-wrote close to 100 songs with David Olney alone. Some of John's most famous songs include Pushing Up Daisies on Garth Brooks' Scarecrow album, Reno and Me on Waylon Jennings' The Eagle, and Hello, Mr. Heartache on the Dixie Chicks' Fly. Roger Miller recorded John's Rings for Sale in 1972, which became a top 5 hit. Mo Bandy's recording of Till I'm Too Old to Die Young reached the top 10 in 1987. For years, John was one of those songwriters that other writers wanted to co-write with and artists wanted to cut. He loved to write with others, but he rarely, if ever, performed out in public. He loved just to let his writing speak for itself. John was also a collaborator with the bluegrass band Country Gazette that included Byron Berlin, Roland White, Roger Bush, and Alan Munday. John's career started far from songwriting. He first appeared on the Smothers Brothers Comedy Hour alongside Tom and Dick Smothers. He was not only a joke writer for the show, but also performed in skits. While at CBS, John was also teaching art. He taught for 22 years at the University of Oklahoma from 1965 to 1987. While many knew him through his music, others primarily knew him as an artist. He had high-profile art exhibits, and his work was in demand. The fans of his art would be surprised to find out about his music career, as much as the music fans who found out about his art career. John lived in Norman, Oklahoma, but during his songwriting peak, he'd make the trek to Nashville every other week for writing sessions. He had a cabin in Tennessee called the Fiddleback Shack. It was thusly named because of the brown recluse spiders that would take over every time he left. The talents of John didn't stop at songwriting or painting. He once composed an opera performed at Nashville's Parthenon. He also wrote several books, including the Boogers and Hangnails series, for which he did his own illustrations. John expressed himself through many mediums. Once an idea had hit him, he would then decide which avenue would see it come to life, be it music, art, or writing. Much of his art reflected his sense of humor, combining creativity with wit. Kevin Welch, who worked extensively with him, referred to John as his mentor and best friend. For 50 years, John has been my main mentor and teacher. He has long been a big part of me, and that can never change, Kevin said. He couldn't contain his love of creation. 5 minutes with John, and you would recognize how special he was, said Gary Nicholson. If you were his friend and collaborator, then you were gifted a lifetime treasure. His sense of humor and irony showed up in his art, and he was a naturally gifted songwriter. He was clever, intuitive, and a relentless craftsman. John Hadley was born on April 10, 1941, in Lisbon, Ohio. He passed away on December 18th in Norman at the age of 83. His passing was marked by his friends, but not widely reported in the media. Fittingly, John once wrote a short poem about this exact situation, as shared by his friend Donald Lipsky. You're looking at one of 2,000 writers. had a song that got cut by George Jones. You can laugh and call me a liar, but I've got the record at home. If I die tomorrow and it doesn't make the papers, if I go out cold and alone, you'll still find my name under the title of a song that got cut by George Jones. John Hadley's passing didn't make the papers, but his name lives on in the credits of George Jones's song, You Can't Get the Hell Out of Texas. For country music fans, that's what matters.